in conclusion, I think that Bitcoin probably is in a bear market. My expectation is that Bitcoin is not going to just do a U-turn and all of a sudden go back to $126,000. I think we've got some time here where Bitcoin is going to go kind of flat to down. But if you've been around for a while, you know this. When Bitcoin goes down, the hardcore Bitcoiners get excited. They try to buy more Bitcoin. They try to figure out, how do I continue to accumulate Bitcoin? And a big thing, if you're new to Bitcoin, that you need to think about is, am I measuring my portfolio in Bitcoin or in dollars? Different people do different things. And some people, I would even argue certain assets I denominate in Bitcoin, like Bitcoin. And so I just constantly think about, how many Bitcoin do I own? And should I be buying more? And can I increase the number of Bitcoin that I own?
Anthony Pompliano has been examining Bitcoin's recent volatility in great detail, and his analysis is straightforward and provocative. According to Pompliano, the dramatic fluctuations in Bitcoin's price between key levels are not the result of random chaos, but rather are a part of a larger market cycle that investors have previously witnessed. He likens the actions of the market to a tightening spring. Weak hands are shaken out by each sharp drop, and confidence is restored by each rebound, only to be put to the test once more. The market is flooded with confidence as Bitcoin soars to unprecedented heights. However, worry soon takes the place of joy as it retraces sharply. For instance, Bitcoin had sharp declines that destroyed tens of thousands of dollars in value in a matter of weeks after rapidly increasing towards six-figure territory. After a robust recovery, it would see more selling pressure. The market structure may be changing if the recoveries are weaker and shorter while the declines get deeper, even as every rally aims to restore bullish momentum. If you're intrigued by bold predictions and deep financial insights, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more engaging content. Thank you for your support and enjoy the video.
If we kind of think about where exactly are we in this entire situation, we've got a Bitcoin price that has dropped from $126,000 down to about $75,000, 40% decline. We know that Bitcoin historically has traded in the exact way it's trading now in bear markets, where you kind of get a decline, then you get some bit of a relief rally, you hit some sort of technical resistance or some sort of issue in market structure, and then you get a lower high over and over again. One of the ways that this has been described to me in the past that always has resonated, my friend Mark Yusko explains it as, it's kind of like a ball bouncing down a set of stairs. Every time the ball hits a stair, yeah, sure, it kind of comes up, but it's still going down over time. And so that, kind of bouncing ball down a set of stairs is exactly what you see in the price. $126,000 top, then we went to 108. We kind of relief rallied, maybe it was like 112. Then we went down to about 105. Relief rallied to 108. Then we went down, sub 100K. That was just a couple of weeks ago, the first time that we broke back below 100K. People kind of forget just in what short period of time we've gone from 126 to 75K. And so that bouncy ball down a set of stairs is usually the exact type of trading that you would see in a bear market. Then we've got this whole deflation conversation and markets being forward looking. I think what's really frustrating to a lot of people is that gold has been going up a lot while Bitcoin has been going down. So if you have a lack of inflation, why is gold going up? And again, as I've explained in the past, I believe that gold is going up because central banks are buying gold, but they're not buying it because they think that inflation is coming. They're buying it as a much more macro decision to get away from fiat currency. Instead, what we're seeing people sell dollars or treasuries and buy gold. And so it's actually part of a de-fiat process rather than a de-dollarization. I think that distinction is very important because what it shows is the reason why people are buying gold is part of this de-fiat process. It's not about inflation. It's not about a single fiat currency. It's actually about the fact that certain central banks are saying, look, we want to significantly increase our gold reserves, and therefore gold is going up, even if we are not necessarily worried about the inflation. Now, Bitcoin historically has not been an asset that is bought by central banks. And so the quote unquote net new buyer to the store of value category are these central banks. Now, it's not that they're new buyers, it's just that the capital they're putting in is quote unquote net new to the inflation hedge or the store of value asset class. And so Bitcoin does not yet be accepted by these central banks as an asset that is part of a de-fiat process. Instead, they look at Bitcoin as something that could potentially hedge against inflation or may even be still in the speculative bucket. When they go to lessen their dependency on all fiat currencies, Bitcoin is not part of that conversation yet. I do believe in the future it will be, but the asset is not large enough, it is not more mature enough, it does not have a long enough operating history, and it has not resonated with the central bankers in that way. I actually would argue that central bankers look at gold as an asset. It looks at it as something that can be an ally to them. I think that a lot of central bankers still look at Bitcoin as a negative, as something that is competing with them. And so that's a good reason or a good explanation, in my opinion, as to why gold is going up, but Bitcoin is going down, yet we are not expecting inflation. And so Bitcoin didn't break as an inflation hedge. I actually think that it's just gold is being bought for a different reason. In conclusion, I think that Bitcoin probably is in a bear market. My expectation is that Bitcoin is not going to just do a U-turn and all of a sudden go back to $126,000. I think we've got some time here where Bitcoin is going to go kind of flat to down. But if you've been around for a while, you know this. When Bitcoin goes down, the hardcore Bitcoiners get excited. They try to buy more Bitcoin. They try to figure out, how do I continue to accumulate Bitcoin? And a big thing, if you're new to Bitcoin, that you need to think about is, am I measuring my portfolio in Bitcoin or in dollars? Different people do different things. And some people, I would even argue certain assets I denominate in Bitcoin, like Bitcoin. And so I just constantly think about, how many Bitcoin do I own? And should I be buying more? And can I increase the number of Bitcoin that I own? So regardless of what your approach is, I do think that we are going to continue to see Bitcoin, kind of flattish to slightly down. I don't think that we will get 80% drawdowns. I reserve the right to be wrong, obviously. And if I'm wrong, I'll come in and I'll just tell you guys, hey, I was wrong about that. It was a much deeper drawdown than I thought. But I do think that being down 40% is in line with a lot of things that we're talking about here. It wouldn't surprise me if we went a little bit lower, but it is hard to see us going down to, call it 30K, 40K Bitcoin price, unless there was an exogenous shock. There was some sort of, contagion. There was some sort of forced selling in the market because of some sort of issue. Like those reasons, then you get kind of capitulation type wicks, and you can go down very fast and very severely. But I just don't see in the market where that could be.
Anthony Pompliano's main contention is that markets react in response to what investors believe will occur in the future, rather than waiting for events to occur. For instance, governments significantly stimulated the economy in 2020 and 2021. Investors anticipated that significant inflation would eventually result from all of this money production. They began making significant Bitcoin purchases as a hedge even before official data on inflation appeared. Bitcoin's price increased from around $10,000 to about $60,000 as a result of the spike in demand. More recently, the same thing occurred. Markets started factoring in the potential for harsh tariffs and higher government spending following the U.S. election. Investors raced back into Bitcoin because they thought those policies would cause inflation to spike again. As a result of that shopping spree, the price increased from roughly $70,000 to $126,000. Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable post notifications for future Bitcoin, macroeconomic, and digital asset content before we go any further. Now, let's get into his powerful predictions.
Is Bitcoin in a bear market? The reason why a lot of people are asking that is because they're trying to figure out what happened. We went up to $126,000, set a brand new all-time high, and then we came crashing down. We recently hit $75,000 in Bitcoin's price. That's a 40% decline. Obviously, that's got a lot of people shook. Now, if you've been around, you know that Bitcoin is likely to be very volatile. We have seen things like a 30% drawdown 4, 5, 6 times in bull markets. And so some people are saying, wait, we're actually not in a bear market. We simply are just seeing normal drawdowns as we continue to go higher, $150,000, $200,000, $250,000. I don't agree with those people. I think that Bitcoin is in a bear market, but it might be a different type of bear market than you're used to. So let me explain what are some of the things that I think are happening here. The first is that there's an entire cohort of people that subscribe to the 4-year cycle. This idea that the halving drives the price up, then there is some sort of correction. We then have these 80% drawdowns, and then we kind of repeat the process over and over again. It's happened multiple times in the past. These individuals continue to subscribe to this idea. Now, the reason why I think that the 4-year cycle is interesting is because I do believe that the halving has an impact on price. If you have a supply shock to an asset and demand stays constant, then you are likely to see higher prices. What I think is a little bit different, though, is that the 4-year cycle can remain, yet we can still have different severities in terms of the appreciation and the decrease in price. That's just volatility disappearing. And we know that Bitcoin used to be an 80 vol asset, but now it's only a 40 vol asset. And so if you've cut volatility in half, you should expect less on the upside and less on the downside. Now, another reason why I think that Bitcoin is likely to be in a bear market right now, other than just the price is down a lot, and the 4-year cycle folks are pretty well timed in calling the top last October, is that we also understand that Bitcoin is becoming financialized. Now, as Bitcoin has entered into the Wall Street world, what we are watching is all of these firms try to figure out, how do I take my type of strategy, apply it to Bitcoin where there's lots of volatility and lots of alpha, and extract economic value for me and my investors. We originally saw public companies adopting it with Strategy and others. We then saw the ETFs become very popular. Asset managers are simply saying, hey, I can take a 25 basis point fee on helping people buy Bitcoin, and then I can continue to take that year after year after year. So there was an economic incentive for them to do so. But now we're seeing things like covered call strategies that are going out as ETFs from those same asset managers. We also are seeing the introduction of other types of options into the market. And so now people can hedge. They can apply different types of pressure, both on the downside or upside of Bitcoin. The financialization of Bitcoin is going to temper volatility, in my opinion. And that's what we've been seeing, both in terms of the launches of these products and the adoption by the consumer, but also in the decreasing volatility. Now, the other thing that I think is really important here that people aren't talking about is I believe that markets are forward-looking. Actually, I would argue that that is just how markets operate. Doesn't matter what my opinion is. Markets try to look forward, and investors say, based on what I believe is going to happen, I want to act today rather than wait. So if you go back to 2020 and 2021, when people thought that there was going to be high inflation because of undisciplined government spending, what did they do? They said, I'm going to buy Bitcoin today. I'm going to buy gold today. I'm going to buy inflation hedges before the inflation shows up. I'm going to prepare my portfolio. And that was a really good decision. Stanley Druckenmiller, Paul Tudor Jones, and many others, along with everyday individuals, all were preparing for inflation that eventually came, but they bought the assets before. And so Bitcoin had run from 10,000 to 60,000 before high inflation ever showed up. And that is because markets are forward looking. Now, if you fast forward to just last year, we saw Bitcoin run up. When the Trump administration got elected, the price of Bitcoin was about $70K. That $70,000 ran up to $126,000 in less than a year. And so there was a belief that, oh, wait a second, tariffs are coming. And if tariffs are going to actually get implemented, then there should be high inflation. If high inflation shows up, then this Bitcoin thing should serve as a great store of value and an inflation hedge. And therefore, the market repriced it higher. There was also the belief that the strategic Bitcoin reserve, a friendly government, many other factors could be a huge tailwind for Bitcoin. So it's not that Bitcoin didn't work. It's actually that Bitcoin did work. Bitcoin went up quite a bit in a very short period of time. But then in October, it peaked and it started to come down. And so one of the aspects that I think is happening is I think the market is looking forward and they realize that inflation is not going to be a problem. Instead, the bigger risk is deflation. And if deflation is going to be a problem, then your store of value assets, they actually lose value. And you don't have to worry about your inflation hedge. Instead, you've got to look for things that are productive and are able to actually benefit from that deflationary force. And so you could make a very strong argument, and I think I would make an argument, that one component of the reason why Bitcoin's price has gone down is because the market understands that the high inflation that we were promised is not coming. It is not going to be a problem for the next couple of years. And in fact, deflation may be a bigger risk. And so it's simply pricing in that scenario. I think that if that is true, which I believe it is, if that is true, then you can start to put together a couple of these factors. There is the 4-year cycle. There is the markets are forward looking. There's all these components that line up with why Bitcoin's price is going down. Now, on top of that, I have seen people online talk about mining hash rate falling. And there's always been this question as to, is mining hash rate the leading indicator for price, or is price the leading indicator for mining hash rate? Put aside that debate for a second. I'll let people smarter than me try to answer it. But what I do believe is that people need to dig into the data sometimes. And yes, there has been a significant decline in mining hash rate over the last 2 weeks. But a big reason why is because as the miners have become more sophisticated, specifically in North America, they have started to actually do demand response or try to stabilize grids. So when it gets really cold outside, the grid has lots more people pulling energy from it. They're turning on their heat. They're using electricity more. And so the miners have a decision. I can keep mining Bitcoin, or I can shut off my Bitcoin miners and I can provide power back into the grid and get paid for it. It's a simple economic calculation. If I'm going to get paid more by selling the power back into the grid rather than mining Bitcoin, I'm going to shut my machines off. I'm going to put it back into the grid. And so when we had this really big kind of Arctic storm that went across the United States, it affected huge areas of Bitcoin miners. And we saw a lot of miners start to report the fact that they were shutting off their machines and that they were going and putting the power back into the grid. That grid stabilization is a good narrative for Bitcoin miners because it means that they're being responsible kind of citizens and corporations in their local communities. But more importantly is it explains why Bitcoin's hash rate came down. And so I don't actually think the Bitcoin hash rate coming down has as big big of an impact on price as people want it to be, but I think it's worth paying attention to. And obviously we want to avoid any sort of issue. That's why we have the Bitcoin kind of difficulty adjustment, many other aspects to make sure that we can continue to incentivize people to mine Bitcoin, keep the security of the network up. So you've got all of these different components that are coming together.
In his opening remarks, Anthony Pompliano answers a common query among Bitcoin investors at the moment: is the market bearish? He clarifies that misunderstanding following a significant price swing is the source of this query. After reaching a new all-time high of $126,000, Bitcoin dropped precipitously to $75,000, a decrease of about 40%. Although Bitcoin has always been erratic, with periodic 30% declines even during bull markets, Pompliano notes that he thinks the current market is a bear market, even though it may not seem like previous bad markets. One explanation is the impact of the 4-year Bitcoin cycle, which many investors pay great attention to. This cycle has historically seen Bitcoin values soar following a halving occurrence, then undergo declines that can reach 80% in depth before repeating the trend. Although the 4-year cycle is still significant, Pompliano notes that the magnitude of price fluctuations might change over time. Gains and losses are probably going to be less because volatility has been cut in half compared to previous cycles. This means that we might not see the sharp fluctuations that were a feature of previous bad markets. Pompliano also highlights the fact that Bitcoin is getting financialized. These days, Wall Street companies are developing products like covered call strategies and exchange-traded funds that give investors methods to profit from or hedge Bitcoin. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable notifications if you thought his viewpoint was helpful so you don't miss any updates. We'd love to know what you think about the future of cryptocurrency markets, so please share your ideas in the comments section. We appreciate your time and hope to see you in the next video.